What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. Today, we're going to be previewing the linebackers for the 2024 Georgia Tech football team. And if you notice, we kind of been seesawing. We started off on a high note talking about the offensive line. Then we talked about the defensive line, which struggled last year. Talked about running backs. Now we're talking about the linebackers. And again, this is not me taking a shot at anyone. There were some high points last year, but overall, really underperforming group. We'll talk about some of the kids that I kind of expected to really have a much greater role, contribute at a much higher level. But I don't know that I gave a prediction last year, letter grade. From what I can gather, it would have been about a C+. You know, that was the year we lost Ely and Thomas, and I kind of thought between who we were getting in, we could kind of recreate it, their production, and it just wasn't the case. So I predicted them at a C+. From what I can gather, I would say they're a D+, same as the D minus, same as the defensive line, which again sounds rough, but let's look at the statistics again. Now, if you saw the defensive line video, this is no surprise. We'll just go over it quickly. Last in rush defense in the ACC and 129th nationally. If you have that kind of production out of your defensive line and linebacker group, you will not make a bowl on this schedule. We've got 6 ranked teams on this schedule, which means if you set a line day one, we would be underdogs in those games. If you are going to be almost dead last in rush defense, you probably don't win a single one of those games. Or you do sneak a win in them and then lose to Georgia State and Syracuse in these games that should be very winnable for you. So, in my opinion, for the 2024 season, as far as making a bowl or better, doing better than you do last year, it's really contingent on this group. You have got to be markedly better at linebacker than you were last year. Now, also, long rushing plays, this is rushing plays of 10 or more yards. Last in the ACC, only Utah State was worse. So maybe, we're not meeting the running back at the defensive line, but you've got to be able to tackle and clean that up at linebacker. You can't let these things get behind you. And I can't believe I left one guy off the list, probably out of PTSD. Let's look at who we're losing. So Braylon Oliver's leaving, graduation. Andre White's leaving, graduation. And Paul Mola. He's not on here, but he's not at Georgia Tech anymore, and these kids are getting paid. He's someone that Key absolutely talked up in the preseason, like, oh yeah, this kid's gonna play. Like, someone asked him if this kid coming in from Illinois was gonna play, or Iowa, or wherever the hell he came from. Idaho, that's where it was. He's like, oh yeah, most definitely he's gonna play. And there were plays where he's engaged with a lineman, trying to get into the backfield, and the running back's 10 yards behind him, not even aware of it. Now, to be fair to him, also, he still had his Notre Dame stuff on his Twitter. I know that's kind of petty, but it kind of irritated me. Probably wouldn't if he had produced a little better for us, but hey, it is what it is. Now, I was really surprised with Andre White, too. He was a kid I really thought would come in and could really, fill the shoes of an Ely or Thomas. And I'm not saying he played awful, but he was often out of position, as well as Mola, and really did not live up to the expectations I can say that I had for him. And I'm sure, it's got to be for himself and for coaches too. Braylon Oliver, out of all those transfers, is probably the one that played the best. He was able to meet, a running back at the line of scrimmage and not get driven back. It hurts to lose him. I will say it. It hurts to lose Braylon Oliver. And I said last year, look, we're going to be in the exact same position as far as our roster with linebackers after these two leave. Now, also a guy named Austin Dean comes in from Rutgers. Have not heard his name since. He's still on the roster. He's listed as a redshirt junior. Haven't heard his name at all, though. Now, who do you return? Kyle Efford. Kyle Effort is a hell of a ball player. In fact, I have it written here. Kyle Effort, and he's a redshirt sophomore this year, so he was a redshirt freshman last year, is the first freshman to lead Georgia Tech in tackles. So I wasn't even aware of that. It makes total sense, though. He was the best by and far piece in that linebacker room. First freshman to lead Georgia Tech in tackles since 1999 when Daryl Smith did it. So he's a guy that, he was still learning, still getting his feet under him, still young, but he was, wherever he was going fast, and he was typically in the right position. Again, led Georgia Tech in tackles. We're in much better position now that we have a game-ready dude with, a ton of eligibility left. Now, Ternelius Tatum is a senior. We do return him. He's a guy that also hit the portal and then said, no, psych, never mind, I'm coming back. It looks like he's put some weight on. He's listed at 230, I think like 6'1 or 6'2. A guy that, I can't say good or great about him, right? A guy that's got experience, struggled at times, has made plays at times. All I can say, it's good to have another guy returning in this room, because you do lose, we lose 4 linebackers. So we didn't talk about it. Ashton Heflin, a guy that I think was on the 2023 class, transfers to Marshall. Tyson Miguez, I can remember talking about him last year. Didn't really hear much of him this year. Transfers to Murray State. So we're really working to turn over this roster on the front 4, front 5, or if we're running 4-2, front 6, right? Between your defensive line and linebackers, only one remains from the defensive line, and less than a handful in your linebacker room. So let's look at this lineup. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds of this, because on the defensive side, there's so much that I just don't know. We have a new DC. We have new linebacker coaches. Now, Stan Tucci is a linebacker expert, which is, I'm sure, weighed heavily into hiring him. Coached under Elko, who's one of the premier defensive minds in the country. There's a reason Texas A&M gave him a bag. There's a reason he's been successful everywhere he's went defensively. So I don't see a universe where we're as bad as we were last year, because it's not possible to be worse. Obviously, Kyle Efford, bigger, faster, stronger this year. We bring in, I didn't mention who we're bringing in, but we're bringing in Jackson Hamilton and EJ Lightsley. So Jackson Hamilton, a guy, redshirt junior, that's coming from Louisville with a good number of game experience. He was there from 21 to 23, appeared in 22 games, 14 tackles, 6 solos. So he was, kind of a reserve player in that rotation. He's from Woodstock, Georgia. We get 2 years of eligibility. Big dude, 6 foot 230. He's definitely someone that can help us. And then EJ Lightsley from UGA, a guy that just couldn't find the field a ton with a very loaded, I'm not in the business of saying great things about UGA, but defensively they're pretty darn good. So I think EJ Lightsley can help us. Ton of eligibility with him. Redshirt sophomore. I think he was coming off slight injury in the spring. Think he'll be 100% though by the time we kick in Ireland, which is oh so close. I'll say this: between Lightsley and Hamilton, between these 2 transfers, you got to hit on one. Last year, in my opinion, and again, not trying to throw anyone under the bus, you didn't hit really on any of them between White, Oliver, and Heflin. You could probably say Oliver is the closest thing. You need one of these 2 guys between Lightsley and Hamilton to be a major contributor for you at the linebacker position. Talked about Tatum, the guy that has the highest ceiling in this room, and the guy that I'm most excited to see, the guy that every time, I'm listening to people in the know with Georgia Tech, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm just going to say his last name, T. Butler here. Tajay Butler. True freshman. We really went after him in Louisiana. Looks like a beast. Massive human being. Look out for him to really step up in this linebacker room. I think it is even possible by the end of the year you see him starting games. I think he's that talented. And with a new DC, entirely new defensive staff, as far as schematically and how Tech runs defense this year, everyone's starting from ground zero, right? Yes, Kyle Effort and some of these other transfers have game experience, but as far as Georgia Tech defense, everyone's starting at step one. And I just think that means Butler. It would not surprise me to see him starting the later third of the season. Look out for him. So let's get into what is my prediction for this year. Now, same as with the defensive line, there's a ton I don't know. Like, there's a ton of people I didn't mention that I'm sure are going to play. Like Jacob Cruz, I remember seeing him at Fan Day. I think he'll get in. Maybe even we see Austin Dean. He's a redshirt junior. I don't have him on here. Apologies if I didn't mention you and you're like, you know, the greatest thing ever. I'm an idiot on YouTube, right? So I do think we're better. Like I said, talent-wise, we're better. Coaching-wise, we're better. Experience-wise, we're better than we were last year. And I actually changed my prediction here. I was going to go with a C minus, or I was going to go with a C, like I did with the defensive line group. I'm this high on Efford, Butler, and one of these transfers, though, and then the experiences of Tatum. With your DC being a linebacker guy, with turning your roster, I just think we're more than a letter grade better. I think between the two front position groups, this is the one that takes the biggest leap. And I actually think this is the position group that makes the best improvement over last year on our team. I think the linebackers are going to play much better. Everything I'm hearing from Santucci is he's very much like Key. He might not be as stoic as Key can be at times, but he's very fundamentally driven. You know, we're going to make sure we get in the right spot, and he demands, you know, the highest level of commitment and success. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm too optimistic? Do you think we're maybe worse than a B minus? By the way, once we get through all these, I'm going to re-rate us for NCAA 25 because I think they did us dirty. Let me know what you think in the comments. Talk to you guys later.
WreckTalk, he's the king, number 10 kid, Georgia Tech in his body, the atmosphere, take it death, call us down, high level ball, number 8, how to go and save for you, we don't catch a car, hope ethics, you don't sue me for this song, damn the grain of right runs into the future so long, the SEC and Big Ten don't want you, and now fruits like oranges in a bowl on you, miracle on Tech 1, miracle on North Ave, a miracle at cool is what you need now. See dog and wreck, letting people on YouTube know where the UNC defense is about to